Welcome to Empowered Kids Village Talk. Today we're talking all about helping kids learn about sex. Stay tuned. Welcome to Empowered Kids Village Talk. You're here because you know that every family has the potential to be great, and you're willing to push the boundaries of your mindset so that you can create the family of your dreams. Today, we have another amazing coach joining us. Barbara Jimenez holds a bachelor in elementary education and a master's in reading education. In 2009, she founded Natural Beginning Homeschool, a home-based early childhood program incorporating nature, play, and social emotional development focused on the whole child. After running that program and starting her own family, Barbara realized that her biggest catalyst for awakening would be her kids throughout her parenting journey. As she was parenting, she realized she was relying on skills that she learned as a teacher, behavior management, and control skills that weren't working. She felt disconnected from her children, and there was resistance in their relationship. As she became more connected to herself, her relationship with her kids also grew in connection. And now Barbara helps parents find that deep connection that we're all reaching for. Barbara, welcome to Village Talk.
Thank you, Nicole. I'm super excited to be here with you.
All right. So today we have a tough question. I'm going to dive in. This question is from Sharon, and Sharon writes, my 8-year-old daughter overheard a boy in her class talking about sex. I didn't know about this until a few weeks ago when she started to act weird towards me and her father. She wouldn't let me and her dad sleep in the same bed now. If we cuddle or kiss each other, she storms off. She has made me promise that me and her dad won't do anything like that. Then, if he sleeps in the same bed as me, she wakes up crying, saying that I broke my promise. I just don't know what to do about this behavior. Now I have just started ignoring my partner and it's affecting our relationship. Any advice would be helpful. Thank you. That's a tough one.
So I feel like there's many layers to this question. So I'm going to dig in and start off with, many parents feel that conscious parenting means we shift control from ourselves to our children. And what I'm hearing in this question is that is what is happening. This parent is now shifting the control to the child, right? And that's a misconception. I myself had to go through that in the beginning, right? When on this journey of shifting from controlling to trying to be more connected. So what I'm hearing by the language that this parent is using of let me and promise is that she's handing over the control to the child, right? And children, yes, they want to feel a sense of some control, and they want to feel a sense of having choices, which leads to feeling seen, heard, and loved. They still need us to be that safety container for them. They still need to know that we are the adult and that we've got their back and we can handle it, right? We can be there for them to support them. So by giving this control to the child and saying, well, she's not letting me and my spouse show affection, that is not creating a container for the child or safety. And I know the parent has every good intention, right, of doing the best that they can. So again, no blame, no shame, no judgment here. We've all been here. We've all done this. Also promising the child something that's not authentic, right? You can't authentically be in a relationship and show no affection. It's just not true. But again, I get it. It's coming from a fear of how do I help my child get through this, right? Now, what ends up happening is that we as a parent feel a victim and we're giving our power away. And instead of empowering the child, we're also creating a victim within them. And I'll explain how that happens. When we have a fear of our children feeling their feelings which is what's happening here, right? We want to save them from suffering, from feeling whatever this child may be feeling. We don't even know, right? But we want to save them. We want to make it all beautiful and pretty with the perfect bow on top. And life is just not like that. And so what ends up happening is we don't end up experiencing our own feelings. We just shove them down, and we don't create space for our child to feel their feelings. And so we give them the sense that they are a victim because they can't handle their feelings. As opposed to if we become that container for them and say, first we have to analyze what's going on for us, and I'll talk more about that in a minute, but also we become that container for the child to say, what are you feeling here? And it's okay, right? We have to really work on ourselves so that we can not react to their feelings and not freak out, so that they can feel safe to truly express their feelings and that we can handle it. Then what we're doing is we're giving them the sense that they're resilient, that they can handle this, and that you're there to support them in handling it, right? And that's what we want to give, that connection, that teamwork, that collaborative support, right? Conscious parenting is not about just shifting the control. It's about creating a win-win situation for both in the relationship, for both parties' feelings to be and needs to be met without taking away from the other. So the next step here, I believe, would be for the parent to really dig deep and see what are the fears coming up for them. Why are they feeling uncomfortable in their child having pretty strong, feelings? What do they feel? And what are the thoughts and stories and conditioned beliefs that they have around sex and intimacy and affection, right? So they really have to get clear within themselves. What is the message I want to share with my child about sex, intimacy, relationships, and feelings? It's all kind of mixed up in here. So I would suggest the parent take some time to really, maybe journal, just sit in silence and meditate on the question being asked, and just think, what are the thoughts coming up for them around this? What are the fears, right? And then one thing that I was surprised that is missing in this question is information about inquiry with the child, right? So then it's okay, let's sit down and talk about, what did you hear, right? But you have to be clear inside, because if you're nervous and you're fearful about what you're going to hear, you're going to react and they're going to shut down. We have to be that container that can hold it. So do what you got to do, to calm yourself down, to try and stay as neutral as possible so you can receive without judgment, right? And without facial expressions, and right, just really neutral, just listen. And you don't have to have an answer right then and there. Right now, it's just, let's just listen. Let's just hear. What did she hear? And how does she feel about what she heard? Because it could be totally way off, right? This child she overheard could have gotten their information from who knows where. So it could totally be way off. It could be very scary. So it's just creating that space to listen to the child, let them express what they hear. Some children may not want to talk about it. They may be too embarrassed to talk about it. So maybe they can draw a picture, or maybe they, if they have another person that they trust, another adult that they trust, that they have a relationship and a connection with, maybe that could be the person, right? But because the end goal is for you to be that person, as a parent, but that takes time sometimes to create that connection and that safety. Okay. So that's like something we're working towards. So inquire and just stay in that inquisitive curiosity of what did you hear and how do you feel about it? And then you could just say, you know what? I can understand what you're going through and what you're feeling. It's okay to feel that way. Just validate their feelings, whatever they are. You don't have to fix anything right now. Just validate. And then you could even say, I'm going to take some time to think about this and see which is the best way to approach this. And so just, again, go within and take time. I'm not saying weeks here, take a little while, take a couple of hours. You don't want to leave the child hanging there either, especially if it's misinformation. So take it and see, how do you want to approach this? What do you want to teach your child about sex, about intimacy, about affection, about love, essentially? Right? And you have to get really clear on that. What are your values as a family? There's no, I would say, right or wrong answer necessarily here, right? It's what works for your family. So I'm not going to give a prescription or a script, right? Because it's different for everyone. But I do want to say to be very careful with what you promise, because if it's not authentic, why are you promising it? It's coming from fear, right? And that's okay. You can always go back and repair. So you can still, having made that promise, you can still go back and say, I realize I made this promise to you, and it's not something I can keep. It's not something that's true to me and to dad, and it's not the way we choose to live our lives. So I'm gonna have to, just let you know that that's not on the table anymore, right? That's not gonna happen. But we could definitely talk about what comes up for you and what feelings you're having, because the feelings are always okay, and we can always talk about them, and we can always feel them. And then just think, like I think sex and intimacy and affection, all this, there's so many components. There's a physical component, there's an emotional component, there's a psychological component, there's a maturity component, right? So you have to take all that into account. And the first step is always staying curious to see what your child knows or thinks they know. And then start there. And you can give as much information or as little information as you choose, but make it truthful. Don't make up stories, right? Because they see right through that. And then when they do find out that that's not real, it causes them to not trust you as much, right? So keep it as simple as you choose to, but keep it accurate. And then keep going within. Why am I so afraid to have this conversation? Why am I so afraid to give this information? What do I think is going to happen? And then question it. Is it true? Can I be 100% sure that if I tell my child about sex, that they're going to go out and want to have sex? Because that's usually what we think, right? So really question and find a support. Find a support of like-minded, right, parents, because if you find a support, it's always good to hear contrast. It's always good to hear what other people are doing. But remember, this is very specific to your family and your values. And so if you're constantly having this conversation with somebody who has different views, you start to question yourself, and you start to question, am I doing the right thing? And you go back into fear. So as good as it always is to also stay curious in those spaces and kind of question yourself, and is this really what I think and how I feel? It's also important to have a community of support, of like-minded people that can support you and can support this conversation, because a lot of times we need other adults to have the conversation with. And your spouse is perfect, right? Because you're working in this together, your partner. But if you don't have that, then definitely find support.
Bob, I love this so much because I think there is so much juice and richness in this conversation. And I love that you started by saying, get connected to yourself first, figure out what's happening for you. I think for a lot of parents, the conversation of sex comes with shame. And guilt, and when we hold those beliefs within us, then it's difficult for us to show the beauty of an intimate relationship because we're shame. And so when your kid says, well, I'm demanding you don't do that anymore, you think, well, okay, I shouldn't be doing it anyway because it's something naughty, right? And so I think going within first and finding out what beliefs and what stories you have, that is such great advice, because only once you clean that up can you really sit and have an authentic conversation. Exactly. And allow yourself to be the safe space for your kids to kind of pour out how they feel. I also really enjoyed the fact that you're saying whatever your child feels is okay. And we get to be able to tell them that they're capable. They're capable of managing all of it. And for me, I think as parents, we can slip into the mode of trying to fix. So I'll just clean that up so you don't feel this way. Or I'll just make a right turn here so you don't have to experience that. And in doing that, we rob them of the opportunity of seeing how capable they are. Because home for me is the training ground, right? This is the training ground before I release you. And so this is this space where you've got to practice. How do you manage those emotions while you have support around you for helping you kind of move through those? So I really love that. And I want to just quickly recap so that we can remind Sharon of all the tips. So create a safe space for all the feelings to get expressed. What fears are coming up for you as a parent, really go in and see what's your beliefs around sex and affection so that you get clear on the type of message you want to share with your child. Spend time in a safe space, letting your kid express all that they heard and how it made them feel. And I think this is so important. Sometimes we don't even want to have the conversation because we're afraid of what we're going to hear. So we skip past it. And in doing that, we skip past being able to give the guidance. So I love that. This was a tip there, Barb. And then you said, make sure you validate your child's feelings, no matter what they are. All our feelings are valid, and just make space for them. And then ask for permission to take time and think it over. And I love that you said, don't take weeks, because as parents, if it's a difficult conversation, we go, let's see how we can avoid that. Be careful what you promise. This was a lesson I learned really early in my parenting journey, because kids don't forget their promises. They simply don't forget. And if you're trying to build that team-like atmosphere where you can rely on each other as you go through life's journey, trust is absolutely the foundation you need. And so you can't make promises that you know you can't live up to. And find like-minded people for support. We try to build that community here at Empowered Kids TV where you can come in. It's non-judgmental support, but that's if you don't have immediate support around you. But if you do have immediate support, friends or family members that you can talk to, open up and share, because I think it's really important sometimes just to know you're not in it alone. Yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to add, Bob?
No, I think you did great taking notes on everything I was saying. But I think also just remember that being conscious or being a non-controlling parent or a connected parent doesn't mean just shifting the control. It means trying to meet both people's needs and teaching our children through modeling, especially, how to meet their own needs. So that's important for us to do that in our lives, to feed ourselves, but also to model for them how to do it. And if people want a community also I offer a membership community for moms that is, like you said, non-judgmental, safe, that they could join us.
Share some more about where parents can access that, Barb.
So they can go to my website, which is Barbie, Barby, Jimenez, JIMENEZ.com. And they'll find my Living Connected membership community for parents and my Connected Teachers membership community for teachers. And a lot of parents are now teachers due to COVID. So I've created a support there for them as well. And then I also offer private coaching and group coaching circles. So, and a Facebook page. So there's a lot on there and different ways that they can reach out for some support.
Beautiful. Barb, thank you so much for joining us today and for helping shed light on this amazing question.
Thank you for having me. It's been my pleasure.
All right, everyone. If this is your first time here at the Village, be sure to subscribe. And remember, this is a weekly show. If you found value, share and like it. It still takes a village. As we always say here at Empowered Kids TV, you're just one connection away. With love and gratitude, Empowerers. Until next time.